Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I'm Wibbert and this is gonna be a bit of a different kind of builds. It's gonna be like two builds in one, and then there's some problem solving at the end as well. So what are we building? Well, diagonal bridges aren't in the base game. They are not even in the network add-on mod, but the people from the network add-on mod did create a file that you can use to create diagonal bridges. So here I prepared the two landings of this bridge that I'm about to build. Basically what I did was just make sure that they were in line and at the same height. I don't know if that's important, but I thought I might as well. And yeah, this footage of me building this thing, I didn't speed up, so I'm just gonna show you how I do it. And I did practice this a bit ahead of time, but then I ended up not really figuring it out. I don't know. Well, in the end I figure it out. It's just that it's a bit of a hard mod to use. And if you're gonna use this mod, then it's probably wise to just, before you do anything, make a backup of the city, or even of your whole region folder. And then you can go into the starter pieces here. So there's two different bridges for rails. I'm just gonna show off one of them. I don't know how big the difference is in the looks. So this is how you place a starter piece. And then you use roads. I am actually dragging the roads incorrectly here, because you can start at a tile of the starter piece, and that would fix the bridge for later, but it's not really a big deal. So then there's this starter piece, and yeah, so I'm not sure if I drag it from the... Okay, so first you drag the roads, if you want to do a rail bridge, of course that is. And then I think you go over the... yeah, so this didn't work. So you can't just drag the rail over the road. I recorded this like a week ago, so I kind of forgot how I ended up making it work. So this voiceover is not going to be super informative. I should have just reviewed this beforehand, but I don't really have too much time to do these videos these days. Alright, so that one didn't work. So you can't just drag like that. So what's going on here? I think I'm gonna figure it out here. Yeah, it's because I didn't start the road part on one of the starter pieces, because the starter pieces ascribes the thingy to the rest of the bridge. So here you can see this floating kind of rail, which is not really how it's supposed to look, of course. It's supposed to look like a bridge. Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing a weird voiceover today, but yeah. And here I thought maybe there's like puzzle pieces that I put underneath it. I actually used this mod before, so it's just that my memory isn't always too brilliant. I think should be figuring it out. So yeah, the diagonal... Yes, there we go. The diagonal bridge enabler mod, it's a mod that allows you to build diagonal bridges. But the problem with the mod is, well, the problem with the mod is that it removes all water from the game, and it limits your road building and rail building to just be perfectly flat. So it's not a mod that you can just permanently install. You have to install it whenever you're building these bridges. Then all the files that describe those bridges will be saved into your city save folder. And yeah, so here I saved. Yeah, and then you can remove the file. I think I cut this out. Yeah, okay, yeah. Remove the file. Um, and then just load the city again without the file in it, and the water's back. Okay. And now here's for part 2, which is me building a big fat power plant. At first, I wasn't really planning on building this big of a power plant, but yeah, I just wanted a modular power plant. And the idea of looking for a modular power plant is that you could just have a consistent power plant that you could keep expanding. But yeah, this one is just a very big reactor, and there's then some eye candy other stuff. So it ended up a bit different than what I planned, but I thought it looked, yeah, pretty amazing, and it gives you a bunch of flexibility if you have the space for it. But yeah, it's a bit large, so I wouldn't recommend it for every city, but maybe if you're building like a dedicated power plant, you can just sell the power to the neighboring city tiles and do the power stuff like that. You could just have like a small tile with just a power plant and maybe some garbage disposal stuff, and then just connect your neighboring cities to that tile. I don't know. I don't really like that because I'm not sure how it works with the budgets and with the cost of it. I'm not sure which is more efficient, and well, I guess I should just try it out sometime and look at the values and look at what is going on. So here I decided, because a nuclear power plant, as we've seen in Japan, is a bit vulnerable to big giant flood waves and stuff like that. So I thought if I were to design one, I'd probably build in some kind of a dam or some flood protection. So I thought it would make sense to have a bit of a dam wall kind of thing over there. I don't know how, when I installed that, I don't know which mod exactly it is for those walls, but I thought it looked decent enough. At least the parts I'm using look decent enough. I think that inner corner one that I tried looked a bit weird, to be honest. And yeah, I'm just leveling the ground because I do think this power plant looks better if the ground's just completely leveled. So yeah, so this is the, I think it's the PEG modular power plant, and I think it's hosted on Simtropolis. So if you want to use this, you can probably find it there. And yeah, the Steam might look a bit weird. I don't know, I think that's just bound to happen because it's an old game that doesn't really do very realistic Steam simulation. But I do think I think this power plant looks really nice. And if you look closely, because of course I've been experimenting with the reshade a bit. Oh yeah, here I tried to do an S-band, and I just didn't remember correctly how to build those, but I looked it up in the network add-on mod documentation. For some reason I can never remember how to build that. So yeah, if you're trying to build an S-band, that's how you do it, and not the way I tried it. It's just, yeah, it's just here I looked for the puzzle piece for it and I couldn't find it. I don't know. I'll probably change it to an S-band in the future, or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I thought it would just be nice to actually show you how to build the S-band in case you are also having issues figuring it out how to do it, because it is in the game. At first I thought, did I misremember it being a thing, or what's going on? So yeah, it's a thing. it's just a bit different than I thought. Here those smooth bends looked a bit weird to me, so I ended up just removing all the smooth bends. So yeah, that's a power plant and a diagonal bridge. The rest of this video is gonna first be me fleshing out this island a bit more, because I also wanted some industries here and stuff, and yeah, the rail just completely dipped me out there, and I really don't know why it went all the way down. But if you want to prevent that kind of stuff, just use pad molds to lock the tiles and prevent really weird rail interactions. Like, so there I used a pad mold and it didn't do that weird thing. And yeah, as I am filling out this island, I'm creating all these kind of small areas, and I think I make you don't have to fill in every tile, right, of your city. And I think the skill is to recognize, or the trick is to recognize when you filled in enough tiles for it to, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I think I tend to just completely fill cities when in real life there's like a lot of greenery around cities, and there's a lot of semi-empty space which isn't occupied with a specific function. It's just there, I don't know, maybe just for aesthetic reasons. Maybe it's just backyard stuff. I mean, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, you don't really have to fill in every square inch of a city. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And here I decided I wanted to do a freight train here as well, because I want to have both passengers and freight come in here. In the next video I'll show you, it's not something I figured out myself, but there's a trick that you can use, and for this trick you need the network add-on mod and the SimCity 4 terraformer, and the combination of those two things allows you to build all kinds of weird bridges. Not for all networks, but I think it definitely does it for road networks, but I think the most flexible one would be real highway networks. And just a 2-lane real highway. It really looks a lot like a normal road, so you can basically do a bunch with that. And this was just a little bit too low, so I ended up just flattening it a bit higher. And you might say, well, that flattening costs a lot of money, but yeah, if you look at my budget, I'm not really worried about money anymore. So yeah, for some reason I'm just making like 15k a year, and I don't feel like I've skimped on services either. I mean, early on I did, but now I've provided them with healthcare services, police services, fire protection is pretty good across the city. Parks are decent enough, I think. So I'm not really sure why I'm making this much money. I think it's probably because of the volume that is actually using public transit. That's causing a lot of extra money to be made with the public transit. Here I had some trouble connecting this freight yard. I don't know exactly what is going on there, but yeah, I ended up at least visually connecting it, but I'm not sure if it's drawing the right paths. You can't even plop it on top of existing rails, so maybe that's just because there's already that other. Oh wait, that one would work. Okay, yeah, that still looks disconnected. But in the end, I figured out how to make it look connected at least, and it was functional. I mean, the industries that I end up zoning around here actually are using that freight yard to export their goods. So I'm happy about that. Well, happy. Yeah, I'm satisfied with that result. And here I'm just gonna be simulating these. Oh yeah, these are actually transit enabled, so they automatically connected to those roads. I didn't have to do that trick with the disconnector tool. And here I just wanted to have a semi-smooth ramp. So yeah, this is pretty steep, but I don't know. Maybe that's not realistic for heavy trucks and stuff like that. But high-tech doesn't really have that many heavy trucks. And here I decided to use this transition piece and some of these these street add-on mods once in order to get some nice parking lots over there. And here I'm just filling it out with some high-tech industry and hoping that that grows at some point. And I'm saying "and" a lot again. I think I'll just have to accept that I do that a lot. The fences over there look a bit weird, and I think that's because the terrain is doing that zigzaggy thing on the diagonals. At some angles it does the zigzag a bit weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but if the terrain isn't a cliff, then it uses a different way to draw the diagonals, because every tile is like split into two triangles, and which direction the center line goes is actually not. Oh yeah, here I noticed my power was out. And spoiler alert, I didn't fix all the power issues. So yeah, here I'm pretty much done with the island, but it's not completely connected everything. I don't know. But in the end, yeah, I had some other power issues. Here I'm just struggling to make this look good. I should probably get some mods with like for power poles and like transistor houses, or I don't know what they're called, stations, I guess. Maybe it's transistor station. I don't know what the English word is for that. Yeah, I should probably get some of that, because I've got this big giant power plant, and it looks kind of weird that the power just comes straight into a pole. It would look better with some more power infrastructure around there. And for some reason this is a giant struggle, and I think it's because there's a little bit of zoning still there. It's still a struggle, so I don't know. I don't know if I ended up making it look nice. Whatever. Yeah, so I was kind of forecasting there's gonna be some other power issues, and I ended up pretty much causing a big issue in my city, but I won't spoil it too much. So here I connected this power plant to a bunch of the city, and I think, oh yeah, I wanted a fire station around here. I think that one looks pretty nice, but it has like a road going around the back, so I thought let's just do something like that. Then just disconnector it so it looks cool. I think that looks okay, but the textures are pretty weird. I don't know why it's... I think that's just because I'm using like a pavement override. I don't know. Yeah, so there's, I don't know if you've noticed it, but there's like some problems with the reshade. It's not reshade, it's like the DG Voodoo. and the NVIDIA settings that I have in the NVIDIA control panel, they are kind of, it's not really interacting incorrectly, it's just that the settings aren't really meshing well together, and I ended up figuring out which settings work and which don't. And basically for a 2D game like this, you don't really need to do any anisotropic filtering for your textures, because that only applies for actual 3D rendering, which is barely done in this game. That's just the automata or the automata. I don't know what, how would you, it's just the cars and stuff. And yeah, I'm not really worried about the textures of the cars looking perfect or not, because they are very limited in their fidelity anyways. And here, yeah, this whole bit of city, that's like 40,000, 60,000 people that that ended up leaving the city. I think it's even more. I think it's like 80,000 or something like that. So I connected the power, I just cranked up the speed, and I was happy enough that I had well, I still was making an income. I did end up deleting some of those buildings because I was predicting that they were gonna have some issues repopulating. I don't know. Some of the buildings do repopulate and others are then occupied by lower wealth, and they don't really go back to high wealth, it seems. So I think, to some degree, I think it's realistic to have like some grungy stuff around the city. And that whole industry area also got abandoned. I mean, they bounced back fast enough, and for some reason I was still making such a crazy amount of money. But yeah, this is the real problem when something like this happens. The education goes down because everybody left, and the people moving back in, they end up starting with like a certain base education. So you have to re-educate those people all over again. And then, yeah, actually you have to wait for their children to become smart, because most people that move in are like 30 years old. So yeah, they end up retiring before working with their high education for very long. So you actually have to wait until their children get smart. So I'm just speeding it up, and I think it took like at least 10 in-game years, maybe even more, before it got fixed and everything got back to relative normal. I ended up deciding to just go for a bit of a dynamic lighting shot here. Hey, there's another one of those popping up, and I think that looks pretty nice. It's on a different angle too than the other one, so that makes for a pretty nice combination. I've started to talk pretty fast, I don't know why. But yeah, it looks like the city's recovering here, guys. And yeah, we're already on a good route to the 120, which is, I believe, a pretty good benchmark for when you get some higher density commercial stuff. And the real high density stuff, of course, is when you have a lot of high education, because that increases the demand for high tech and high wealth offices. So yeah, here I'm just deciding, yeah, I should probably just expand, create some more jobs for these people, because I have these city ports installed, and these functional seaports, they have different growth stages. So as you get more industry in your city and they get used more, they level up. And right now, this one, I think it's at level 2 or 3, and it has 9 growth stages, so it has such a long way to go. So I'm kind of happy that I'm using the industry quadrupler, because else you would never be able to just get them to like the. I just want it to look cool, right? Maybe I should just modify it so it doesn't have such a crazy range of growth stages, but then it would be upgrading every 5 seconds, so I don't know, I think it's in a decent spot. But if you feel like it takes too much industry to upgrade them all the way, then you should probably consider modifying the files a bit in order to make it align with the scope of your city. I don't know how big the city is gonna be and how able I'm gonna be to force all the industry to use the city ports as their mode of exit. Yeah, I think the night lighting still has some issues with the new rendering thing I'm using. I hope it doesn't look too weird in the video. In the preview I'm watching right now, it looks alright. It does go a bit brighter and a bit dimmer at some point, so I'm not sure. But yeah, I think this color setting is decent. I ended up changing it a bit more because yeah, I don't know. It's weird because when you watch it at the when you look at the game at like in the evening, it looks completely different than when it's like sunny outside. So I end up being dissatisfied with the color settings at different times of the day, and I think that's causing me to keep changing it. I don't know. I just want it to be nice. I hope it's nice. Let me know if you like these color settings and if you have any ideas on what could make it look better. Maybe a bit more contrast. I've increased the contrast a little bit, and I've increased I think the colors are also a bit increased, but they're also I applied a little bit of bloom, and I ended up increasing it a little bit because it's fairly unnoticeable. So yeah, I think it's most noticeable at night anyways, and that's just the consequence of how bloom works. It's like a effect that spreads out high differences in brightness, and then yeah, just makes it into a gradient, so you have like a bit of a glow effect, right? So it looks like the bright things are actually glowing, and somehow, oh yeah, that's how you do that transition. So I'm just working along, building this little neighborhood, and I had the idea of making like a close to sea level boulevard area over here that then transitions into a higher level. I don't know, I think I've seen stuff like that in some coastal cities, so I thought it might look cool. The boulevard area would then be yeah, just for people who want to live right next to the beach. So I'm hoping a lot of high density residential ends up going there. I don't know how realistic that would be without sufficient seawalls, because yeah, it's like a risk, right? If you're gonna live next to the sea, the risk is of course flooding, and flooding can be incredibly devastating, because you don't just, it's not like stuff just getting wet, right? Because most things, when they get wet, they get destroyed. So it's just all your belongings, and you can say, yeah, you can replace most of that stuff, but it's generally, flooding is also the intrusion it has on your personal space. I think is also like a big part of why flooding is so devastating. The safety of your home being like attacked by this unstoppable force. And I guess the same is with just general hurricanes and stuff like that. It's just devastating to most people that ever experience it. I've never experienced it, even though I live in the Netherlands, and I guess some people believe that we are bound to end up at the bottom of the sea. But yeah, we'll have to see about that. I don't know. I do think that if this sea level rise, I mean, the predictions aren't like tens of meters, I don't think. So the amount that I feel is being predicted should be manageable as long as we stay a wealthy country that can have the disposable income for the dikes that we would need to build. I think we might be alright. But yeah, the economy is also fickle, and we might end up a poor country that just sinks into the bottom of the sea. We don't know. I hope not. I think, I mean, yeah, I think it's normal to not want your country to sink into the bottom of the sea. And I think it's also normal to feel like your country has like to be a bit nationalistic, to feel like your country has a reason to exist, or like a purpose in the world. And even if it's just for the people living in it, I think that's still sufficient reason for a country to fight for its existence and to fight for the welfare of its people. Yeah, so here I'm trying to rebuild this port because I accidentally destroyed it. And now I have to figure out where the road connections are, so I end up doing these dots as markers. Yeah, you've seen me build that trick a bunch before. I think it makes the thing... It makes some of these lots look a lot nicer. And this will probably instantly upgrade. Yeah, there we go. And look at that. 2 nice skyscrapers. I already have a bunch of those, so I don't know why this is a thing, but it seems like once you've grown a building in your city, it has a higher chance of spawning again, which would be like the opposite of how I design a game like this. I would try to aim for as high of a variety of buildings. But then there's also, I mean, there's like 2 scopes, right? When you're looking at high skyscrapers, you don't really want repetition. But if you're looking at small neighborhoods, you do want a lot of repetition. So at least in order to make it a bit realistic, because they tend to be just mass produced. And yeah, here I edited my folder for that that census bureau thing. I edited so when editing like descriptors and stuff like that, you can yeah, what I ended up doing to cause it to derp out like that is that I forgot to re-index it properly, and then I ended up saving it and then re-indexing it, and everything got a bit screwy. So I think I just have to reinstall that one. And I thought maybe a bus stop over there is nice. I really like the diagonal bus stop of the Wooden Harbor set. It's the only diagonal bus stop that I've managed to find. I'm sure there's some out there, but for now this is the one that I'm using. I guess, yeah, I think those plants are part of the road being decorated, and I guess that looks a bit weird with the bench over there, but whatever. There's always gonna be stuff like that. And I think here I'm showing how well the city is recovering. So even if you have like a big disaster in your city like this, there's a way forward, as long I mean, I was already making tons of money, and I managed to keep making money during the entire disaster period. But something like that could actually bankrupt your city. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know if you've had like experiences like this where you'd just made a small mistake and ended up completely destroying your city. I don't know. Would love to hear these disaster stories, and maybe even redemption stories where you ended up making it work in the end. So yeah, I think this is pretty much it. I probably am gonna go over some services for a bit, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool build. It might seem weird to have those industries over there, but when looking at Nova or at not Nova Gothia, that's this town. When looking at Göteborg in Sweden, I did notice that a lot of the area near the water is actually just industries, and well, not on this small scale. They tend to be a lot larger in scale, but yeah, the cities I've been building so far are all really not on a realistic scale. At least not compared to real world cities. These would all, but that's just because of the city tile size. In real life, you'd probably for a big city, you'd probably need at least 5x5 big tiles. And for a metropolis on the size of like Chicago or something, if you include the suburbs, it's like 20x20 tiles. And if you just do like the downtown area, I suppose 5x5 or 6x6 would be enough. But then you've got a pretty boring city, in my opinion. It's nice in the way it looks, but I like to also have like some transition into farmlands and stuff like that, and to have like a variety of stuff that I build, because just building city blocks after city block, video after video, week after week, that would not inspire me enough to keep trying new things and stuff like that. And here, I don't know, I think I made a pretty nice city over here. It's not realistic. My next series, I'll try to be shorter in the series and more realistic, but we'll see how that works out. Stay tuned. Thank you all for watching. I'd like to see you again. Goodbye.